thank you all for coming today and being a part of this this big breakfast. We're grateful for Mayor Hermosillo, Mayor Hall, and Mayor LeVault being here. We didn't introduce Mike, but I'll do that in a minute. He goes without saying. But they wanted me to take a moment to talk a little bit about the chamber and why I'm here. And so I'm going to kind of share a quick story, and then we'll move on. The thing that got me interested in the chamber was a couple years ago when there was some legislation that passed through a vote on raising the minimum wage. And as a business owner, I was caught flat-footed. I didn't understand. I didn't even know it was going to be on the ballot. Frankly, I had not done my homework, and I got to vote. I went to vote, and here was this initiative on the ballot. I thought, whoa, what's this? This will really hurt my business if this passes. I thought, oh, it won't pass, and then it passed. And I thought, well, how did I get caught so flat-footed, right? How did I not know? How did a member of the business community not know that this initiative was on the table? And so I thought, well, I need to get involved. And so I came and I visited with Raul at the chamber, was really interested in joining, and talked to him about, look, I'm not interested in breakfasts and parties and parades. I want to have somebody who's the watchman on the tower for me, right? Who's looking out for me, the small business owner, when I'm in the day-to-day trenches, selling and paying payroll and making sure the lights stay on. Who's looking out for my backside? And we couldn't answer that question. And so I joined, found my way onto the board, and from there we've really talked about some things that I think from a business owner's perspective, right? We're all community stakeholders here, but as a business owner, these are the things that I need help with. I can't do it myself. And so banding together with like-minded business owners who are interested in the same things is really what got me involved with the chamber. So as Raul said, there's been a few things that have changed over the last couple years. One of them is it's right here. We've kind of changed the mission. Well, we've not changed the mission of the chamber. We've focused the mission of the chamber. Under the leadership of Scott Phillips, we made the decision that we would change the paradigm in the chamber, and we'd really become a catalyst for business growth, a convener for leaders and influencers. That's what we're doing right now with over 100 people in the room. And then we'd be a champion for stronger communities through the help of Rick Gray, if he'd stand up real quick again. Rick and Mike, Mayor LeVault, Senator Gray, I should say, and Mayor LeVault, they've really had this vision for what's called a West Valley Caucus. And we've put together all of the basically the chambers, elected officials on the state level, and the mayors to get together on a regular basis and talk about issues that are facing the West Valley. We believe if the West Valley grows, if Surprise grows, El-Mirage benefits. If El-Mirage grows, Youngtown benefits, right? We all grow in the same ecosystem together, and really trying to make sure we focus on that. Another really exciting thing that I'm excited about, now this is kind of maybe not too exciting for everybody else on the street, but we've banded together with 5 other chambers and hired a lobbyist to represent us downtown. Yeah. I paid him to clap. Lobbyists are sometimes bad words, but we need to make sure that we have a voice down at the Capitol. And then, frankly, when we run across stuff that the cities are doing that we may not fully understand, having somebody on staff that can help us understand what that bill means to us or what that new ordinance means to the business community, keeping it in front of that. And then we've really focused on drilling down some benefits for the membership. With some new legislation that's happened, we've been able to band together with some other chambers and put together a group health insurance policy that we'll be rolling out. Small business owners like myself, it's very difficult to offer those types of benefits, but when I can join a larger group and get the benefit of those rates, it becomes a real tangible thing that we can help with our business community here. So anyway, there's a lot of things going on. We've been a little radio silent the first couple months of the year with our breakfast, but trust me, we've been super busy with a lot of this other stuff. I look at the chamber as a watchman on the tower, right? A lot of times when we do these breakfasts, when we do mixers, we're thinking about the immediate. What does it mean for me immediately? But the chamber has got to get really good at seeing what's coming down the road in 2 years, 3 years, and 5 years. And so we've been building that kind of infrastructure to be aware, to be ready for that. We've got some big things I'm sure that the mayors are excited to talk about today. There's some stuff that's going to face the West Valley in the next 3 or 4 years that we have to be united on. And as the chamber, we hope that we can be an advocate for that kind of working together, that kind of cooperation. So with that, we're going to move on from me. You don't want to hear, you didn't come to hear from me. So we want to hear from the mayors. We're excited to see Mayor Hall. He's been around for a long time, but this is his first official meeting at the chamber as the mayor. And Alexis Hermosillo, who I know very well, her and I, we got to campaign against one another, and she is a extremely hard worker. And she worked my shoes off. I have a pair of shoes that I walked when I campaigned, and I look at them and I hate them. I hate those shoes. And then we've got we've got Mike LeVault, who is kind of our seasoned vet. He's been around for a long time. He actually sits as an ex officio member of our board, and when Mike talks, we all listen. He's an important part of our chamber. So I'm going to introduce Mike or Mayor LeVault. He's going to be the MC today, kind of make sure the discussion goes well. And so with no further ado, Mike LeVault has served as mayor of Youngtown since December of 2006. He believes government must work to fundamentally reinvent itself in terms of the ways in which it finances and delivers services, becoming more efficient, responsive, and transparent while simultaneously striving to become less intrusive, which is a very difficult thing to do, and I think Mike has navigated that well. He strongly encourages public and private partnerships and interjurisdictional public sector cooperation, innovation and creativity in order to better and more efficiently serve the people. He believes government should be a cultivator of commerce by lessening regulatory and tax burden. LeVault strongly encourages regional cooperation and serves in several regional boards and commissions. So here's his resume. So buckle up. Past chairman, vice chair, treasurer, and executive committee member of MAG. Past chairman of MAG's Economic Development Committee. Current member of MAG's Regional Council and EDC. Current member of Greater Phoenix Economic Council Board of Directors. Current member of Westmark Board of Directors. Current member of Luke West Valley Council. And current member of RPTA Valley Metro. So I don't know when he sleeps, but he's a very busy man. So with no further ado, we'll turn the time over to Mike.
Thank you for being here this morning. I think it's important that you get a chance to meet your elected officials, and in a couple of moments I'm going to turn this over to the two newest additions that we have to the West Valley roster of mayors. We have a great group of mayors in the West Valley, and as you all know, those that know me, you've heard me say many times that the next decade or two belongs to the West Valley. This is where the growth is going to be taking place. We can either ignore it and let it sprawl out of control, or we can do a good job planning and enhance quality of life for our residents. Thank you, Chance, for that kind introduction. I've been mayor, I guess, since before there was dirt. Maybe too long, but at any rate, people ask me about term limits, and I point out that every election is a potential term limit. So I want to tell you quickly, I cut my political teeth on the east and south sides of Chicago and ward politics, and I've been in Arizona 13 years, I guess. I'm sure you all heard the old joke about the two convicts in line, chow line in the penitentiary, and one says to the other, you know, Governor, when you were in office, the food was a lot better here. Where I came from, that is a true story. There I think, are four governors in my lifetime in Illinois that went from, they followed the path of power, election, power, penitentiary. So hopefully we're not going to do that here. No, we're not going to do that, right? So let me, without further ado, and I'll just briefly say, all is well in Youngtown. Most of you know me. I've been around a long time. Things are really going well in Youngtown. We're in good shape. so I won't bore you with telling you that story again. I want to get to our two newest additions, as I said earlier, to the roster of mayors. And you know, over the years, I've heard it said over and over again that a mayor, when you're talking about a council manager form of government, which I think every municipality in Arizona except is Tucson a manager government? Okay, so I guess we're all council manager forms of government. In that particular government model, I've heard it said over and over again that mayors are kind of like the chairman of the board. They serve the most important role of providing the vision for their towns and cities. And so I want to start out, and Skip, I'm going to go to you first, if you don't mind. You don't mind, Alexis, if I do that? Okay. I'm going to ask you to speak for a few moments about your vision for the city of Surprise, what you see coming for your city, and how that fits into the big picture regionally. So without further ado, Skip Hall, you're up, sir.
Thank you. Does this work? Thank you, Mike. And chairman of the board, thank you for that promotion, Mike.
Pay raise involved.
Yeah, there's no pay raise. Thank you for being here this morning, and thank you to the chamber for putting this on. I thought about how I wanted to go over what's going on in the city, and I broke it down into like 5 areas. I want to talk to you for just a little bit about the council and the management, city management, and I want to talk about the construction that's going on in the city, and also the economic development and what's going on in city center. And then I want to mention the state of the city that's going to be going on later this month on March 28th. First of all, I would say that the city of Surprise is refreshing itself, okay? And by that I mean we have a new mayor, me. We have 2 new councilmen that are just sworn in January. And we have a brand new city manager and a new executive team. So the city manager, Mike Frazier, was promoted internally. The assistant city managers and the deputy city managers were also promoted internally. We didn't bring anybody from the outside. And that's the first time. I've been on the council almost 11 years, and it's the first time we've ever done that. We've always brought somebody from the outside for key positions. So it's really refreshing to see that kind of growth and people development in this city. I am fortunate to be part of a talented, caring council who really has the best interest of the city and the residents in mind. It's top of their mind, and I'm honored to be part of that. We as a council, we agreed on 7 points of emphasis in the city, and I'm going to go down through them very quickly. First of all, 1, we wanted to ensure that we had adequate funding for our police and fire in this next growth cycle. It's very important. We've been a safe city. We're one of the safest cities in the state. We want to keep it that way. Second, we want to review the departments, all the departments' budget this year, department by department, so that we ensure that we have good fiscal strength and financial future sustainability. We want to work on the facilitating the synergy between WestMech, this organization, and Ottawa University, our new university, and Dysart School District. We also have a new, speaking of new, we have a new superintendent of schools here in Surprise. So we see that as a real opportunity to restart some of our relationships, and also the next step is working with Dysart to maximize the assets of the city and the school district to benefit our youth. Okay, they're all taxpayer owned. Okay, and then we want to encourage our economic development department to, and we've got a great economic development department, don't we, Tom? Tom Doyle from El-Mirage was just bragging about it, and they're just a great group of people. We want to encourage them to find some private investment that will bring in a venue for our teenage kids. We do a great job from 5 to 12-year-olds, but our teenagers, we don't have a lot of entertainment venues for them in Surprise. And we'd like to see some private investment come in that will provide that. Also, we want to work with the Economic Development Department to start bringing in specialty restaurants and entertainment venues. Okay, and we've got a lot of chain restaurants. We need more entrepreneurial specialty restaurants and specialty retail. And then we want to work on city center, and we want to work with the landowners. Scott Phillips is here this morning. He is the point man for the city center, and he works tirelessly, and he's really amped up his energy in with this new city council. So we think we're really headed in the right direction in the city center. We're going to start seeing some development in the city center. One of the things we need to iron out, and we're working on right now, is the incentive agreement for city center, for Carefree Partners. So those are the things we want to work on as a council with the management, with the city management. We shared these points of emphasis with the city manager, and he shared them with all the directors in the city, so everybody knows what we're thinking. As far as construction, we've got a lot of construction going on, and I want to break it out into 3 areas, really. City construction, we're building a new library in North Surprise. We're building a permanent fire station in North Surprise. We're starting on the expansion of Waddell Road, which is a big east-west corridor for Surprise, from the 303 to like Bullard. It's going from 2 lanes to 4 lanes. We're also building right now Sweetwater, connecting Bullard to Litchfield. Sweetwater is just south of Waddell. We're also building the Public Works operational facility. That's under construction. So that's the city construction that's going on. Westmec, you see what's going on with Westmec. I don't need to. It's very obvious what they're doing. Right now, I think they teach like 5 disciplines here at Westmec, but they're going to grow to like 22 disciplines here. And it's going to be great for our youth. The Ottawa construction, they're doing a $48 million expansion of Ottawa University. It's going to have, they're building a student dormitory right now. If you drive by City Hall on the south side of City Hall on Greenway, you'll see all the construction. They're building a dormitory. They're building a press box and locker rooms for the football stadium, building a rec center and student union, and an administration building. So it's a $48 million expansion. So they are committed to Surprise. In economic development, I just want to bring up, we are right now, Tremaco is a manufacturer of do-it-yourself painting supplies. They've completed construction. They're hiring right now. They're going to hire a little over 100 people. And then right next to them is CCAP Plastic Packaging. It's a company out of Seattle. It's a family-owned company. It's going to be the only manufacturer of plastic boxes in the United States for like the fish industry, the vegetable industry, the fruit industry. Because, you know, when boxes get wet, they get, you know, they don't work too well. So that's what they want to build, these plastic boxes. And I'm not sure exactly what that means. So we'll see. When they open, I want to take a tour through their facility. But Destiny Springs Behavioral Hospital just opened a couple weeks ago. LA Fitness is under construction. They're getting ready to open. There's a micro hospital I guess I really can't talk about, but that's in front of, I don't know, Matt, did you hear it at P&Z? The micro hospital, did you approve it? Okay, good. All right, good. And then we've had very productive, I can say this, we've had very productive talks with Costco. That's all I can say. Okay. And just last week we launched.
Would you hurry up on that one?
Yeah, I know. And we last week we launched the first ever tourism website. So that's a big thing for economic development. At City Center, which is around City Hall, we just did a $750,000 electrical upgrade, so to furnish the electricity to Ottawa and all their expansion. The Texas Rangers are building a housing complex on Bullard Avenue, and it's going to house their players, and it's going to have a sports lab, a real high-tech sports lab. There's a lot of retail and restaurant activity I really can't talk about that's looking at Bullard Avenue, which could end up being the entertainment corridor in Surprise. So that's it. That's kind of I'm sticking to it.
That's all. All right. Alexis, tell us about all the exciting things happening in El-Mirage, and tell us a little bit about your vision for the city.
Great. Well, first of all, I want to thank everyone for being here, the Chamber of Commerce for inviting not only myself, but the city as well to represent here what we have going on. And I want to also mention and recognize our city council, our city manager, Crystal Dykes, and our economic development director, Tom Doyle, which everyone does such a fantastic job at the city. We're just such a great team. I'm sorry I may be biased, but I think I have the best council. So you were talking about how great yours was. I was like, no, ours is really, really great. So no, but just to go off of that, I'm really impressed by the level of quality representatives that we have in our city. We're very balanced, and we are. I like to say that we're very ambitious, which speaks volumes about the level of commitment and engagement that our city has, not only with the growth of our city, but the growth of our community, because our biggest stakeholder is not only the people who are going to do business in El-Mirage, but the residents themselves, and those are the people that we keep in mind at the end of the day, or in every conversation as well. As far as vision, we are working towards creating a city that is financially fruitful and abundant in opportunity. And recently, the council, we had our strategic planning session, and we kind of beat you. We have 10 goals. So, but that also speaks to the level of quality and commitment that we want for our city to have, and the growth that we want to see in our city. And so we identified some key areas of how we want to accomplish those goals, and those were economic development, community engagement, and sustainability, as well as strengthening relationships, which is key to accomplishing all of those goals entirely. But we also want to focus on improving quality of life, strengthening relationships like I've mentioned, and also increasing connectivity, because to market our city not only means that we have to connect with outside stakeholders, but also making sure that our residents are engaged and they have a say in the entire process as we move forward. I think that's something different than what we've seen in the past, and that's something that's very important to us as a council. And making sure that we're moving together in the same direction and not leaving anybody behind, especially when it comes to having conversations about what we want to see for our city. Some themes that we have identified throughout our conversations and talking with stakeholders, representatives that represent our city, businesses, people who are interested in having partnerships with our city have been growth, collaboration, and opportunity. And with those themes, we have identified with growth, developing the southern portion of El-Mirage, so focusing on the business development in that area, and then also redevelopment, so focusing on our opportunity zones and making sure that not only our newer portions are gaining attention, but also making sure that our older portion of El-Mirage also has some revitalization, refocusing some growth in that area as well. And that also takes some creativity, so thinking outside of the box. So a lot of people know that El-Mirage is landlocked, but that's not to say that we're limited in where we can grow. And so being creative, and we're so fortunate to have such an amazing and genuinely invested staff. Sorry, we're very talented at El-Mirage. But to have the level of quality workers in our city, I have been so impressed. I've only been at the city for 3 months, but everyone has been so engaged and so ready to create all of these ideas and bring them to life, and really bring so much more to El-Mirage than what we've seen in the past. And I've been in El-Mirage since I was born, so that means a great deal to me, having seen El-Mirage grow through its different phases, and finally getting to be on the map on a different level at a different scale. And so also collaboration, forming partnerships is very, very important. So we've been reaching out to a lot of organizations that have expressed interest in working with our city, not only from an economic development standpoint, but also to engage the community and provide resources that we desperately need. Also, one of the council priorities was community engagement. So focusing on methods of communication with our residents to, again, making sure that everyone's voice is being heard at the table. And then also regional support has been huge. I've only been, like I said, mayor for 3 months, but so far we like each other very much. And so, which is really, really good. So. No, but I say that lightheartedly, but I honestly do mean it. Like it was mentioned earlier, what's great for one city is great for the region. And so what happens in El-Mirage, in Youngtown, and Surprise, Avondale, Goodyear, Buckeye, Tolleson, Litchfield Park, I don't want to miss any because we'll hear about it at our dinners. No, but whatever happens in one city definitely affects the other. And so making sure that we work as a team regionally, making sure that we support each other is very important to us, and being a team player is very, very important to City of El-Mirage. Also, opportunity, job creation is super important. You know, creating that cycle of revenue, but also impacting the community and providing jobs, and that essentially also means those dollars can go back into our city if we have places to eat, play, visit. And so creating that cycle and that circle is very important to us as well. And so growth, collaboration, opportunity are sticking points for the near future. We have 10 goals in mind, so we have a lot of areas to touch, but those are our main focuses. Right now, what's going on in El-Mirage, what's very important is the economic development factor, especially for the southern portion of El-Mirage. And we have a lot of activity going on as well. And so developing the southern portion of El-Mirage is important. So Survey Steel is a company that just broke ground recently. And when it's completed, it will be 150 square feet, creating, 150 jobs as well towards the end. So that's very, very important, and making sure that we also have those conversations that they connect to our community. We have RNS Supply Service, Luke Trailer, Epcor Water, Riley International. We also have a housing development that's currently under construction on the eastern portion of Grand Avenue, right by Thompson Ranch. So we have a lot of activity going on, but also focusing on attracting more retail is very important. And in that plays making sure that we're prepared with accurate infrastructure, and making sure that our methods of transportation, our roads are in place, because a lot of, as you know, a lot of truck drivers and trucks need accessibility to make sure that they get in and out of the businesses that they need to deliver to. So there's a lot at play in El-Mirage. It's an exciting time, and we have a lot ahead of us. And so we're just very excited. And so to continue the conversation, not only within our own city, but regionally means a great deal to us.
Thank you. I know you were a little nervous about this, but if I didn't know better, I would think you've been doing this a while. Nice job. Nice job. Alexis, you mentioned something about the West Valley mayors and how we have determined that we're going to cooperate as a region. I tell people all we have to do is look at what's happening at the national level, and if we do just the opposite, we're going to get along just fine. So, someone asked me the other night, well, what are the political affiliations of the mayors in the West Valley? I'm pretty sure I know, but what I told them was, look, we don't ever have to agree on Donald Trump or Barack Obama. We have to agree on how best to fix a pothole and how best to deliver services to our residents. We've talked a lot about regionalism this morning, and right now the population center of the valley, I think, is somewhere just east of the Cardinals Stadium. In 10 years, it's going to be in Surprise somewhere. The growth is coming our way. We've worked hard as mayors and cities over the years to try and cooperate regionally so that we can do the best job for our residents. Chance mentioned earlier that Senator Rick Ray and I have been working on the West Valley Caucus, which involves mayors, legislators, and the executive directors of the chambers of commerce. Knowing that what happens regionally is so important. Skip, can you say a few words about how your vision encompasses that and what we can do to be most successful there?
Is this on? Okay. Well, Mike, I have to echo what you said about the cooperation of the mayors. I mean, we have got some really good mayors in the West Valley, and they're action oriented, they're articulate, they know what they want, and I think we have a shared vision, really. We need more infrastructure and transportation. Transportation is a big deal in the West Valley, and we need to work together to make sure that happens. Now, I know there's limited resources. It's just that we need to be at the table when the East Valley is there trying to get money. Because in the past, they beat us to the table, and they've got the money. A lot of competition. We need to make sure our voice is heard. Secondly, we need to cooperate in water. And I think we've got some makings of that. We just need to elevate it, especially with what's going on in the Colorado River. And there's ways to do that. It just takes cooperation, and I am very willing to do whatever I can to help. And from what I've seen, I think there's a lot of. We need to augment our supply, okay? And there's ways to do it, especially in the area south of Goodyear, southwest of Goodyear. There's ways to make that brackish water, make that drinkable. It's not cheap to do it, okay? But I think if we all work together, we can smooth out the costs, and because we need to do that. So those are a couple of things I would say. Retail, and then the economic development, Mike, as you know, I mean, Goodyear, when they get a success, I think that's good for Surprise. And when El-Mirage, when I heard that El-Mirage got the steel company, I wrote Alexis a letter because I just think it's great for Surprise, for El-Mirage to succeed. We all need to succeed. And so did that answer your question? Okay.
Good job. You both have talked about creating good-paying jobs here in the Northwest Valley, and one of our challenges is transportation, frankly, and figuring out how to get our fair share of scarce resources to build things like highways and streets and mass transit. But the more good-paying jobs we get in the West Valley, so that people can stay here and work. I think the better job we'll do with transportation. The West Valley is a big bedroom community. Every morning we get up and we drive east to go to work, and in the afternoon we drive west to come home. And so I think that's key to what you're saying about creating the jobs. Alexis, again, the regional cooperation is clearly so important. And one of the things we talk about a lot down at GPAC, Greater Phoenix Economic Council, is how we not only have to work together in the West Valley and the East Valley, but we also have to work together as a cohesive region, Greater Phoenix, including Central City. Because when we compete for jobs, we truly are competing worldwide. It's not just with the other states in the country, it's with regions all over the world. And the success to which we can act regionally and do a better job of that, I think that'll dictate how successful we can be. You want to say a few words about how El-Mirage, you see El-Mirage fitting in with regionalism and working together to enhance quality of life for our residents?
Oh yeah, definitely. So as I mentioned, we have a fantastic team at the city. And so, but as a city as a whole and how it fits in regionally, I think we're very much team players. Like we've mentioned, all three of us being part of the region being very supportive is very important to moving all of our residents forward, not just the residents in our individual cities. And so making sure that we learn from each other, I think is very, very important. So what works for a city may not work for the next, but having those conversations in place to grow from each other and save each other those headaches are very important. But regionally, I think that we have a long ways to go, but we have such a great team already in place and such a vision for what we want for our community and improving that quality of life, which goes back to the economic development, creating those quality jobs, having that engagement with our community to understand what exactly their needs are and not try to guess them, but actually have those conversations with our residents to have those common vision and goals and work on them together. The quality of life in El-Mirage is very important to us, and I think a lot of the council members, if not everyone, agrees that in order for us to move forward as a city, we also have to focus on our major stakeholders, which are our residents.
Can I make a comment on that, Mike? That's a good point. And one of the things I want to point out too is that we need to elevate our presence with the state legislatures. And we have got some really good legislators. And Rick Gray is one of them. But Frank Carroll, Ben Toma, David Livingston, they're all really good guys. And they listen. We just need to be more vigilant to make sure they're listening. And Jody Tass is our intergov person, and she's elevated our whole presence in terms of how we communicate with our legislators. And that's really important because some things that are passed in the legislature have impact on our city. And so we're always looking at our budget. That decision, how's that going to impact our budget? In surprise. And so Jody's been just super at elevating our whole presence. Also, our dealing with the county. Clint Hickman is a real important player for us, especially here in the Northwest Valley, because we got Sun City and Sun City West right next door. So we need a really good relationship with Clint Hickman. And that comes back to transportation, Mike, because there are some, like Northern Parkway, that's a McDOT project. That's Maricopa County Department of Transportation. The Williams Road crossing across the Agua Fria River north of Bell, that's a McDOT project. So we need to be aware of that and what's going on and have a good relationship with Clint so we can pick up the phone and say, hey, what's going on? And he's a good man. And I think we've got a great relationship with him right now, but we need to continue that.
I want to add a little note about having those relationships with our representatives, which is very, very important. And I like to add that the conversations that El-Mirage has had with our representative, and I say this because we share some of the same representatives for our cities, is that there's a lot of excitement coming from our representatives wanting to support our cities, which is something different that I've been hearing that has happened compared to the past, which is great. So when it comes to growing regionally, I think for sure the next decade or two do belong to the West Valley, and people are noticing that, especially our representatives, and they know the importance of maintaining those relationships. And I think continuing to talk with them and keeping them informed is going to elevate our presence, not only regionally but in the entire state.
Yeah, all very, very good points. When it comes to the county and the state, we really shouldn't be in an adversarial relationship with those jurisdictions a little higher up on the political ladder. Exactly. Yeah. And as goes the state, so goes the county, so goes the cities and towns, because everything that they do has intended and sometimes unintended consequences on what we do. And that's one of the reasons that Rick Ray and I are working on this West Valley caucus. I think we've got in excess of 30 legislators whose districts are either totally inside or touch the West Valley. And then we've got when you count Central City, we've got a dozen mayors or cities and towns. And then we have our chambers. And so it's important that we learn how to better cooperate going forward. I think that'll make us more successful as a region. So I've got a few questions here. Let me take these in the order in which they were handed to me. First question is Alexis. El-Mirage is home to some of the best potential employment land in the state, owned by John F. Long Company. How's the city viewing that opportunity?
Oh, it's a great opportunity. Fortunately, we have a great relationship with the Long family regarding that. And what's so great about developing the southern portion of El-Mirage is we only have one landowner, which makes a lot of things more convenient, especially in the negotiation process. And when it comes to recruiting businesses to look at our city, those conversations are a little bit easier, especially because we have that relationship. And so that has been such a great opportunity for the city of El-Mirage, and making sure that we speed up the process to get businesses to come to El-Mirage, to make that their home, and also build those relationships with the community to increase job creation for them as well.
Great, thank you for that. Skip, how can the West Valley, and we've talked a little bit about this, but how can the West Valley mayors and the West Valley caucus work together on transportation efforts, and specifically what can be done to help with the extension of Prop 400, which, as you know, sunsets in December 25, I think.
Right. Well, first of all, we can be engaged and stay engaged, and communication is super important. I just have to say, I've been very frustrated about it. Everybody that knows me knows how frustrated I've been with the jurisdictional equity that was put in place in 2003, and Surprise just got hosed. I don't know how else to put it. And the way Proposition 400 was structured was that there was no review of the jurisdictional equity in that total time frame of 20 years. We had to live with it. So in 2003, Surprise had 65,000, well, less than 65,000 people. Now we have 135,000. Well, they didn't factor that in Proposition 400 to review that jurisdictional equity. And so we've been living with a terrible jurisdictional equity, and the funds to fund buses, et cetera, to connect Surprise to the grid are just not there. If we want to do it, it's all on our dime. And our residents have been paying a half a cent for a lot of years, and so there's not a lot to show for it. So I went off on a tangent, Mike. Anyway, but we got to stay engaged, and we've got to make sure that the West Valley gets its due, all the cities, and that we have a county-wide grid of buses. Okay, and I'm telling you what, it's going to be a fight, because the East Valley wants more light rail, and light rail is very expensive, you guys. It runs between $80 and $100 million a mile, construction and right away. So that takes up a lot of, it displaces a lot of money. So we need to make sure that we are, and I know Rick knows this. We've talked about it, and he's not. He's on board with, he's reading off the same sheet of music as we are. When you lay down a rail track, that's it. You're fixed. On a bus route, you can move the bus route. If this street isn't working, then you need to move it over here, then you can move the bus. You can't do that with rail without laying new tracks. So anyway, end of speech.
Very, very good points. And that Prop 400 extension, that is a that's not a gee, we could really use that. That's a gotta have for the West Valley. Without an extension of Prop 400, we're going to run out of money. I remember at the height of the Great Recession down at MAG, we took over $6 billion out of the Transportation Improvement Program. We're just now, getting that money put back in place and kind of catching up. So we've got to work hard to make sure Prop 400 gets extended.
Yeah.
The caucus that you're talking about, that you and Rick are putting together, that's going to be some power to be reckoned with. When you have a West Valley chambers, West Valley mayors, West Valley legislators, there's a lot of power there, and we need to exploit that.
You bet. Yes.
And when we're talking about transportation, we automatically have to talk about quality of life and how that impacts quality of life, because transportation does have a direct impact. when it comes to accessibility to jobs, accessibility to healthcare, accessibility to schools. And so when it comes to getting transportation out in this portion of the region or increasing the access to transportation, it's huge. We really need to have those conversations and have an alliance when recruiting funds or support for transportation in this region.
So here's a question that for both of you, and this is an important question. How do you see the Surprise Regional Chamber of Commerce playing a role in helping your respective cities find those businesses that will provide the high quality jobs to the Northwest Valley? Skip?
Well, I think the chamber is obviously it's a national organization that has a certain elevated stature. When people talk about the Chamber of Commerce, it means something in terms of free enterprise, doing business in a conducive environment where government doesn't impede a lot. So that kind of communication is very important. And I know we're going away. The chamber's going away from the old type of chamber. But I want to emphasize that chambers you can't get around the fact that chambers are network organizations. And networking is it's a skill. Networking isn't just walking into a room and giving your card out and say, hey, buy from me. Networking is walking in and saying, how can I help you succeed? Oh, really? Well, yeah, you could do this. Okay. And become a servant to that organization. Okay. And I think that more and more that is needed, that kind of servant mentality, servant leadership. And the chamber is a servant organization. It really is. And it needs to look at how they can better serve the business community and communicate to the outside world that this area, Surprise Regional, you want to do business, this is a great place to do business. And if the chamber sees something where the cities or the counties are impeding that through their government regulations, they need to be a voice to that. They need to say, hey, City of Surprise, we don't like this sign regulation. And here's the reasons why. It hurts business here, it hurts business there, etc. They need to be that kind of voice to the government entities. Okay? So that's the way that's what I see. Does that answer your question, Mike?
I think so. Alexis, same question. How do you see the chamber fitting in with helping create jobs?
So for this, specifically for the City of El-Mirage, I think when it comes to creating more jobs, I think it's more identifying the businesses that are in place and improving that relationship and identifying the resources that are going to help that business grow and then create jobs from there. I think that's very important. And some of the conversations that we have with our different departments is again the creativity aspect of it and the connectivity aspect of it, and making sure that the businesses in our city know of each other and work with each other off of that network, but also including the chamber within that relationship. And so again, going back to identifying the businesses that are already in our city and identifying ways that the chamber can better serve and support those businesses to provide the resources that will essentially create jobs in the long run.
Thank you very much. And the last two cards, we've really kind of dealt with the questions there. So we've got just a couple of minutes here. Those that know me well, you hear me talk all the time about who really owns the joint. It's not us, it's you, all of the residents in our respective towns and cities. So let me ask each of you quickly, do you see any way that we can, and this is a tough question, is there any way, in your opinion, that we can enhance citizen participation and awareness of what's happening in our governments?
You know, that is an excellent question, Mike, and we struggle with it all the time as a city council. How do we get people more engaged in what we're doing, especially at the city level? When I was getting signatures, there were so many times where people say, well, I don't vote at the city level. I vote for the president, I vote for da-da-da, but I don't vote at the city level. You know, if there's a pothole, they're not going to call the federal government. If there's a traffic light that's not working, they're not going to call the federal government. Or if you call 911 because your aunt just had a heart attack, the federal government's not going to help. It's city. Okay, so we impact more lives on a daily basis than the state or the federal government. Okay, and we need to keep people engaged in that regard. One of the things that we've been working on, and with mixed results, right, Mike, is we've been trying to get kids more involved. Because if we get the kids involved with city government, maybe their parents will come in tow. Okay, where the kids start talking about what it is for city. Boy, I didn't realize what a fire truck costs. $1.25 million for a ladder fire truck? And we get kids thinking about what it costs to deliver services and how it impacts people, from water to sewer to parks and rec to all that. And if we get kids involved, we got a great active youth council, and we just need to expand that. And Dysart School District is going to expand their youth council to where it's going to be all 4 high schools are going to combine into one council, kind of a super council, which we're going to interact with. So I don't know. The adults are so busy. And what you said, Mike, a lot of them are driving to North Phoenix or Scottsdale or downtown Phoenix, and by the time they get home, they're tired. And now their daughter's got a soccer game and their son's got a softball game. There are just so many things competing for their time. City government is really not that interesting for them. But if we can go to their children and get them engaged, maybe they'll get mom and dad engaged. I don't know.
Skip a generation, just write us off. Huh? Alexis, any comment
That's great.
on that?
That's great. Well, I believe that communication is a two-way street. So if we want for the community to engage, then we need to play a large role in that too. We have to reach out, and that's one of the goals that the city council has put forth, is focusing on different methods of communication and what works for our city. Outreach. The different methods of communication and outreach is different for every city and every community. Yeah, especially with differences in generations. Now that you have social media, we have people who are on social media, we have people who are not on social media, and trying to figure out how we can utilize the resources that we do have and not try to go beyond that, but also identifying what works for our city. And so, again, it's a two-way street, and that's an issue that we're currently working on to figure out. But that's something that we're really focused on, to focus on the approach that works for our city. That's one of our points.
Thank you for that. And I want to last couple of words, and I'm going to turn it back over to Chance. I think Thomas Jefferson said it best when he said, "We're not a government of the majority. We're a government of the majority of those who choose to participate." So it's up to you folks. This government, whichever city or town you live in, it really does belong to you. So we need your participation, because as Skip pointed out, we provide 65% of what I call the bread and butter services: streets, roads, parks, libraries, police, fire. Those aren't state, those aren't county services. Those are municipal services. So having said that, I'm going to turn it back over to Chance, and I think we've got you almost right back on time. So
I'll wrap it up here. Thank you. Round of applause for our mayors.